Hey friends, Deanna here with Homestead and Chill, and happy summer. So the garden's looking fabulous right now. We have so many beautiful flowers and fruits and veggies growing, so I figured we were due for a garden update. And since we last checked in, we've done a few fun changes to the homestead too. We've put in a whole new berry patch, a new orchard and pollinator garden space, expanded the chicken run, all kinds of fun things that I'm really excited to share with you today. So let's go take a look around and see what's growing. All right, so let's go take a look around. We relocated our big cacti over here along these light posts. I'm really loving that, as well as these calendrinia that kind of frame the pathway here. And we will walk through, I think we'll go walk through the old existing garden next. We'll start in the newer raised bed garden over this way. And one change that we made this year that I'm really excited about, and the girls are very excited about, is we expanded the chicken run. So before, you know, the chicken run just ended in that little enclosed area, which is still there, very protected, like nighttime, very predator proof, hardware cloth run. But then we added, you'll be able to see it more when we go down that way. Oh, you just saw her jump off her roost there. But we added a big wire fencing that's just more open under all these, protection of the oak trees, so they're, you know, protected from hawks and stuff, but extended to more of a daytime run space so that they had even more room to walk around and hang out. But coming on down, oh, little birdies, looks like we need to refill this bird feeder here. So before we even really enter the garden here, one of the things that's changed over in this space as well is we sowed just a ton of native wildflower seeds out here. So it's kind of hard to tell, but there is a rock line border where we had actually planted a bunch of perennial plants for pollinators in this space, you know, our first year here. But then during our really wet winter we had this season, we decided to throw out a bunch more native wildflower seeds. Plus we have some volunteers like this little cosmos here, but we have California poppies that have sprung up all in this area, and this is all Clarkia, which is just so pretty. It's like all in these multiple tones, and there were bluebells and tidy tips and all kinds of other natives, some lupin, things that grew up in here, and just kind of a little wild smattering of stuff. A lot has grown in and filled in this space. All of the yarrow and scabiosa and lavender. There's agastache, all kinds of good stuff in there. All right, now let me back up to the actual garden itself. Things are growing well. We have had a very, very overcast spring. We always joke about the Central Coast here with May gray, June gloom, no sky, July, August, all of that. You can see the fog just burning off now. But it was so cloudy for just the entire month of April and May, and just now starting to get nicer, or actually in June as well. So July has just started to be our sunnier month. So the plants are a little bit behind compared to normal this time of year. Like, we don't even have any tomatoes yet. The peppers and eggplants are way far away. You know, melons just starting to grow. You know, none of the real hot season stuff is really going yet, but a lot of our spring stuff and our flowers are very happy. All this beautiful lavender blooming, and then the grapes themselves have been bananas this year. I keep tucking the vines back away from the beds. This is a pretty wide pathway normally. They're just starting to get their little fruitsies here. You can see the little immature grapes. So we'll have a lot of grapes probably in August is what I'm thinking. I apologize if it's a little breezy today too, but here we have all kinds of pretty flowers tucked in all the beds like normal. So this is a dwarf zinnia and some bachelor's buttons, and all these little pops I'm sure everyone will be curious about, because you can see all the little round poofs are gem marigolds. So we have some tangerine gem, which are the orange ones, and then these are just a blend. We had red, yellow, and orange gem marigolds, and they just create like the most fun little pops of color. Here's some zucchini. We just harvested a bunch, so there shouldn't be any big old monsters hiding in here. We've had a lot of zucchini, been eating a lot of zoodles and zucchini bread and zucchini fritters lately. Here's a yellow zucchini back here. And like I said, the eggplants are just really kind of starting to get going. Here's another eggplant that's a little bushier, but little flowers, but no fruit yet. And the tomato trellises. So if you all were around last year we had these 2 tomato trellises Over on the far side, they were back in between those two arch beds back there. Worked really well, but in an effort to do crop rotation, we decided to move them over to this side of the garden this year. And again, they're a little bit behind right now just because of the season being a little bit cooler and foggier this spring, but they are growing. But if you saw, we have a YouTube tutorial on how to make these as well. It's essentially a combination of a Florida weave and a single stake method, where we do some moderate pruning and train a main leader up the stakes, and then we weave the side branches between those bits of twine there and just create a nice wall of tomatoes. So then we have space for other plants in front and behind, like the marigold and bachelor button. This is an African blue basil. Really pretty. The bees love it. Speaking of bees, hello there. Hi, little friend. And yeah, the regular basil we tuck in between here. And yeah, so those are growing. We've got a big old poppy. I'll have to show you the black poppies. Those are so pretty. More tomatoes over here. And an interesting experiment, side note, is, I don't know if you can really tell, this bed the tomatoes are a bit shorter, and this bed the tomatoes are all a bit taller already. And we planted fava bean cover crops in this bed over winter, which are great nitrogen fixers. So might be a coincidence, but that also might be attributed to that they had those cover crops in that bed. So it's giving it a little boost of nutrition compared to these ones to make them grow a little bit faster. And we have a lot of cosmos tucked around, so you'll probably see quite a few of those. We have these white ones here. I think that's from our Sensation blend, and I passed a nice big pretty pink one on the way in here. And these are all of our carrots. Maybe I'll pull a carrot just for fun here in a minute, with some beets tucked in around it. And then these are our determinate tomatoes. So we have all the indeterminates, or the vining varieties, on the trellis, and the determinates are in their cages. Also with similar companion plants tucked in between. So we just put basil everywhere. We make tons of pesto that we freeze all summer long. This is one of my favorite. Look how pretty this little gem marigold is. So gorgeous there. And these beautiful sunflowers that are starting to bloom up above it, including, I don't know if you can see the one that one over there is actually on the neighbor's yard. It is self-seeded from our yard over to there, so there's been a few of those poking up, but I don't think they mind, so that's good. Back here in these barrels, we just have mostly flowers and amaranth. Amaranth is a new one for us this year. Just really, really pretty. I don't know if we're gonna really do anything with the seeds themselves or the grain, or maybe just leave it for the birds, because the birds are gonna enjoy that. I just wanted to experiment with it, and it's just so pretty too. So, and this gorgeous salvia, I think this is the Amistad variety, is just large and in charge this year. We just cut it all the way back to the ground in the winter, and it is now pretty much as tall as me, if not taller, and just loving life. Oop, I almost tripped on the rocks here. If you were around and saw our big old agave that was in this pot that had a big flower spike, because agaves often just flower once and then die, so it had this huge flower spike up here. It did die back, so it's gone, so we said goodbye to that, and just put a little California native buckwheat in here. We've been really focusing on doing more and more natives as much as possible, so we've mixed in monkey flower and little rock roses, and penstemons and California fuchsia and all kinds of stuff. Some Cleveland sage. Oh, hi quail. There's a little quail over there. Hi, buddy. We haven't seen any quail babies yet this season, but we're hoping soon. It is right now July 4th. Happy 4th of July. And we saw them on the 6th last year, so any day now, hopefully. the other side of this sunflower. Looking so nice. And this area is some winter squash. So we went crazy on the winter squash this year and are just growing so much more of it than ever. I'm really excited. This is a winter sweet, which is kind of like a blue-gray kabocha type. And then we have some what is it called? Autumn frost butternuts in this bed. They're a really pretty, like kind of, I don't know, dusty orange frosted color. And we're going to be, I'll tell you more about our plans for winter squash soon, but we're growing more and more of that. So we're really enjoying that. I just saw these bees out of the corner of my eye, so we'll say hi to them now. Hi bees. The bees love, these are artichoke blooms. So we harvested so many artichokes this spring. These plants are now 2 years old, so artichokes are perennial. And we cut them down at the end of last fall, and then they regrew over the winter, and we ate like 40 artichokes from these 2 plants over the spring, and then just decided, okay, we can't harvest anymore. We couldn't keep up with it. So we just decided to let the rest go to flower and bloom for the bees, and they're just so beautiful to look at. The plants themselves start to look a little haggard and kind of die back at this time, so I just kind of pull off the leaves as needed. But, I mean, isn't that just so pretty? And again, there'll be a bee in every single flower. So we'll go back this side before we move on. Just tuck little nasturtiums. Oh, so here you can see, this is one that we cut back. So there actually was a group of plants here and here. So there were 2 artichoke clusters in this bed, and same over here, 2 artichoke clusters in this bed. And when we had harvested them all and decided to let them go to flower, we went ahead and cut down one and let one group flower so that we could kind of get them like on an alternating schedule. So then these ones are already starting to grow back after chopping them down. And so we'll hopefully get another round of artichokes to eat by the end of summer or early fall, and then we'll cut these ones down soon, and they'll probably be more on that spring schedule for fruiting. And the bright blue bachelor buttons, that one in particular was a volunteer from last year that's kind of growing in the pathway, but I do not mind. Lots of little flowers, sunflowers. The chives pretty much done blooming, but I made delicious chive blossom vinegar with these blossoms. So tasty. Been putting it on our like loaded veggie sandwiches and stuff. So great use for chive blossoms there. This is another bed of winter squash. So we have that winter sweet variety. We have honeyboat delicata. I think there's so many little delicata fruits. You can see them here. Little delicata fruits out here. Like, I mean, there's a lot of little fruit, and there's a little twinsy in here. Hi, twinsy. So those are just coming along, but then the winter sweet, here's a good example of the fruit. So it's already getting established. That's my glove underneath it. I was protecting it from sitting on the soil. I just need to put some cardboard out here or something, but that's a nice little fruit growing there. Nope, walking backward so I don't fall in the fountain here. Around to this bed is melons, which are just, again, now coming along. It's still a little cool, but there's a mixture of melons, watermelons, and muskmelons, so more like kind of cantaloupe type varieties mixed in this bed. Trailing over. Try to block my mic here from the wind. Sorry about that if it's annoying, but these everyone asks about, so I'll point them out too, are apricota cosmos, and they are just so gorgeous. Like if you look close in the center, they're like bright pink, hi bee, and then like peach on the outside. They're a new to us variety this year, and definitely a repeat grow. And then we've got onions up here, and some more poppies. And speaking of poppies, these are the Black Magic poppies, and they're just totally stunning too. I've been pretty obsessed with these guys this spring, especially how they've been like framing the fountain, and then when the sunset's going off in the background. And then just by coincidence, I planted these Black Magic bachelor's buttons right kind of in front of them. So we've got black on black there, nice deep burgundy hues together. And back around here, this is, oh, I hear the trash truck. Sorry about that. More amaranth. And then back to beets and carrots over here. So yeah, that's what's going on this side of the garden. Hello, hello, it is Deanna from the future. Not really, but it's actually right now, currently the end of July. I was inside trying to edit this video tour for you guys. It's taken me, several weeks to actually sit down and do that. And I just realized I'm unfortunately missing a good chunk of video where I showed like this side of the garden over there. So I'm gonna do my best to kind of just briefly mention what was missing from that section, but it's kind of fun also to see, like, look how much has grown in a month. So you're kind of seeing this at two different times. So things are growing and changing, which also means unfortunately some things that were looking really good over there a month ago are also gone now, so I don't even get to show you some things. But like, check out like just the difference in these poppies, right? So these were the Black Beauty poppies. Now they're pretty much done flowering. We're just gonna let these seed pods dry out on the plant. And this is where you can get like bread seed poppies from for baking. So yeah, those are just so fun and whimsical to leave. So then, yeah, coming over here, we did have, we also cut out the artichokes since then. So that's all looking nice and fresh. And we actually have fresh new artichokes growing back. Yeah, so in this area, we did have the most vigorous, beautiful snap peas this season, but then they ended up getting powdery mildew, so we had to remove them. It was basically, getting too warm and they were done anyways. But we had really nice snap peas on both sides of these trellises, and then we have pole beans going on this side, which are doing fabulously. We just did our big harvest yesterday though, so there's not a lot of actual beans, hanging ready for picking right now. And then in the front, we have lots of beautiful Swiss chard, nice and trimmed up right now because again we just did a harvest yesterday, but a little chard forest under here and some pretty zinnias. And then one thing that I had wanted to mention over this way was showing more of this expanded chicken run area. So you can see that the fencing comes down and around and kind of hugs the perimeter of this canopy of the trees to just keep them not in plain sight of any overhead predators or hawks. I think they're just loafing around over there somewhere. I see them kicking around. My idea is we'll probably just end up getting rid of this wood shed. I was thinking that they would, or the wood stack, I was thinking they would have fun like picking around on it and looking at bugs and stuff, but they really have not shown it any interest. And so instead we could just have more space and I could move the bench maybe under the little awning or something, because we do plan to maybe get new chicks, more chicks next spring. So then they'll have even more space to kind of kick around out there. And then let's see, I want to show you this little border here, but I'll go the other way to show you that in a moment. We just cut out a big calendula here yesterday, so we had a nice big poof of calendula. This eggplant, I've had to stake back this marigold so that the eggplant has some breathing room in there, but those are growing in, enjoying this warmer weather we've had so far now later in July. This whole bed is more winter squash. So we have delicata and butternut squash in this bed, and we set up this little like A-frame trellis from Gardener Supply, which can sit inside the beds too. Or we've been using them kind of like little, offshoots off the end of the bed. So that's what you saw in the other winter squash bed, which is really full of stuff over there now too. And we're doing the same for our melons and our cucumbers. We've done that previous years and it works really well for us. So yeah, they've got all kinds of stuff there, but now you also get to check out this beautiful teddy sunflower that has been blooming. I mean, that is just so beautiful and fuzzy. It's such a fun, gorgeous sunflower. Little delicatas growing in here, and I see little butternuts growing away. So yeah, got lots of little fruits. Coming up the middle here, the Black Beauty poppies that are more frilly in nature. This one's just fading and kind of falling apart, but just absolutely stunning. One real bummer you don't get to see is when the calendula, the chamomile was in a lot more of its glory days. Right now it's kind of fading. We actually just restarted a bunch of 6-packs of the chamomile yesterday because we're going to probably be replacing this round. We had a really gorgeous lot of chamomile, which we just harvested all the flowers yesterday. So it is still producing. We just pulled all the flowers already yesterday because we've been making chamomile and calendula fused organic face oil for our shop now. So we come out here once a week and just takes like almost 2 hours to harvest all the flowers because they're just so little and tedious. So we just, again, picked that clean yesterday and we'll be replacing that soon. And then again, more pole beans up here. And this is kind of a fun, now you get to see the before and after. I show a peek of this sunflower in the other video, and it is just like quadrupled in size. It is so massive. It has all these gorgeous blooms. Let me see if I can back up and get around here. I mean, now I'm gonna be looking right in the sun, but look at that thing. This is just a specimen, such a beautiful specimen. And look at how much the bush beans have grown in too. But what I wanted to kind of point out over here too is this beautiful row of sunflowers that we added after we expanded the chicken run. So the chicken run fencing, you know, comes down around here. That's their existing run. That it created kind of this strip here between where our gravel was and then where their run fencing starts. And I was like, let's do something fun there rather than it was just, you know, weedy stuff like this there. So we just added some wood chips, and then I planted a whole row of sunflowers here, and that is what is going on, and it is just such a fun addition. Look at all that pollen. There's a mammoth and this red one. And so we put the annual sunflowers in the front, but then I also planted some more established perennials like calendrinia, and there are some rosemary plants that'll grow in. We're kind of like low growing, so we won't like block the view of their run, but then those will stay there while we can play with annuals on the front side. So that one's about to bloom. And yeah, so that is kind of what I had showed you, I think, on this side. We'll take a peek at the pole beans really quick right now, just because they're so awesome. And this bouquet dill has grown a ton more too. But yeah, I mean, I just picked a ton of these beans yesterday. Sorry, we're looking right up into the sun there, but beautiful foliage. It's a combination of, the red ones are like a blue cocoa, those are small ones right there, but these big, long, flat, they're called Northeaster, like a Romano type, and they can get quite large and stay really tender. They're our favorite variety. So yeah, that's fun. All right, and now I think we'll probably jump back to early July. There they come. Hey girls. I just wove them a little piece of saddle up to the salad bar. A little piece of Swiss chard there. Hey, you like your space? There's good birds. There's some good birds. Hey girls. You can get some greens, huh? Okay. Okay, you have fun. All right, so down to this side of the garden where I said I have a few future fun plans for more winter squash. As you can see, this is just a really big open space of gravel. We had actually left it that way with the intention of maybe adding some more raised beds down here one day. We have some grow bags and some wine barrels and stuff, but just kind of a random hodgepodge of stuff. And one day I'd also like to landscape this area with some native shrubs and some prettier things besides the dead weeds over there. So my idea is, here, let me come this way to give you a better idea and visual, but my idea is to create a long cattle panel arch trellis. So, you know, a lot wider, probably like 3 or 4 times wider than our existing trellises down at the end this way. And then instead of having the beds that run this direction, I want to install 2 really long, like almost 10 to 12 feet long, narrower raised beds this orientation. And so once you come through here, then that's what would be all right here, and then be able to do not only winter squash over it. That was my idea, because I was making a winter squash grow guide recently and I was like, I want to grow all the varieties, but no, for melons, peas, beans, cucumbers, I mean, we can even trellis tomatoes over them, and with crop rotation we will be moving things around, right? But I just thought that would be really neat to continue this, you know, arch view down through here, and then eventually do some little pathways and some plantings, some shrubs and stuff down there. Coming back around, so again, this is where that nice big arched tunnel will be. Hopefully we'll work on that this fall and get it ready for spring planting for next year. So again, here's another example of having the trellis kind of hang off the side of the bed. And here's where we have some cucumbers. They're just getting going, again, because of the kind of slow, cool spring, but we have some cukes starting there and some calendula. And this is where we just harvested garlic recently, which, because of our interesting spring, had a lot of fungal disease this year, more powdery mildew than ever, but our garlic got garlic rust, so we just pulled those a little bit early and had to just preserve it rather than dry and cure it. So then I just sowed some bush beans, and there's some turnips coming up in here too, and a giant volunteer sunflower that we did not plant, that the birds planted for us. The volunteers are always the craziest. I mean, look at the leaves. They're like, this isn't a mammoth, I don't think, because it has multiple heads. A mammoth is a single-headed sunflower, and look at the trunk all the way up there. I'm looking into the sky now, is just full of flower heads. So I think that thing's growing like a foot a day right now. Back side of this bed we already kind of peeked at, but more bachelor's buttons. And then we have some yellow zucchini or some butta squash back here, a little eggplant, and some green zucchini, and oh, I see a big one. I need to harvest that guy there. Some zucchinis, and then that sea of cosmos. Oh, hi Hummer friends. Are you sitting on the fence? He says, I like all this good stuff, thank you. Good little bird. And there's where the melon is doing kind of the same deal there. Some watermelons and stuff. And over here, we have some cabbages that are still coming along we planted these in the winter, sizing up and heading up pretty well. Some of them had some aphids, so they're a little bit funky, and they clearly had some cabbage worms munching some holes in the leaves, but looks like we'll still get a few good cabbages out of those. And then another round of beets, and then I did some romaine lettuce, some heat tolerant, I don't remember exactly the variety, it might be Jericho, romaine lettuce there. So I just sowed them pretty tight, and we've been harvesting little mini heads to eat, and then I'll let them get bigger once they have more space, and then we'll do cut and come again harvesting, where we just harvest, you know, the outer leaves. So nice to still have some lettuce in July. And the beets are coming along nicely. And then crazy big dill heads here, really nice dill heads here, and more of the black magic bachelor's buttons. Beautiful. Speaking of 4th of July, those look like the kind of fireworks I like better. Melons dangling, filling out in the bed. Oops, we got a broken dill head here. Sorry, what happened to you? And yeah, so then the melon will be growing and sprawling over this way. And background here, I can see the bees. And again, one of the artichokes we had already cut back is growing back quite nicely. And that's pretty much what's going on in the main raised bed garden. All right, let's go take a look at a few other spaces. All right, so backing up back this way, we'll come down this path instead, past this lemon, and into the existing garden. So again, if you're new here, this was the only garden space when we first moved in about 2 years ago, was this little, you know, black fencing area and the orchard beyond it, which we've changed a lot in back there too. So we had added all this, it was just a dirt field, and put that in over the last couple of years. And so in here, not a ton has changed. We've changed out some of the plants and added some different things in the ground and some agave stuff. There goes a quail running down the path. Hey, buddy. And then one of the newest additions that we just put in a couple days ago was this bird bath, which I love. We have a little bird feeder back behind it. You can see there's a little birdie on it. So this is definitely bird haven in this central area, because we have a feeder there and a feeder over this way and a couple baths all in this area. So quite a bit of bird friends. The thing I'm probably most stoked on in this area right now are all the herbs. So this is a big old barrel of rosemary. And then this whole bed planted out with, it looks like it's about to start flowering too, a lot of it. But this is oregano here, and thyme, and more oregano. And there's some chamomile back over there. And this sage. It's just looking so beautiful and lush and full. And then more lemon verbena here. Lemon verbena. More different types of sage. So yeah, lots of wonderful herbs. It's great to be able to pop right out the door. I always recommend, putting your herbs and your want to use, regularly in the kitchen as close to your door as possible, so you can just pop outside while you're cooking and grab some fresh stuff. So that's why we like to keep a lot of these herbs here rather than way out in the garden, which I end up running out there a lot during meals anyways too, to grab things. Fern trees doing well. You can hear the quail talking to us. And coming through this archway here to the existing orchard, the biggest tree that's here in the front and center is the old apricot. I actually did some research on like Google Earth images and tried to find pictures of this property like as far back as I could. And I think that apricot along with the grapevine are like over 20 years old is what I was able to determine. But this whole swath of lavender, there's a lot of bees on it right now, but really went off in late winter and into spring was just like a sea of bright purple. This is like nothing compared to what it was. It was fabulous. And the view into the garden there. And then we had added just last year this little nectarine. And it's a Double Delight nectarine. Oh, we need to top off that bird bath. Sorry, birdies. And a Santa Barbara peach, and they have a lot of fruit this year. I thinned them. They're getting a little fruit. Obviously, for a tree that small, we're not hoping for much, but they have a little bit of fruit for us. And then going down the line, we have some peppers, and kind of gave them our main raised bed garden got so full of stuff so quick in the spring. I got a little frisky with all the flowers too, so Aaron said, okay, I'll put more of my peppers out here. So he's got a couple peppers in these barrels. And then this lime tree was existing and it's growing in well. And then we have more peppers, and we had planted this fig tree our first year here, and it is growing in nice. It's a Corky's Honey Delight, so it's looking happy and healthy. More peppers. That's an existing orange tree that was here. It's actually looking better this year than it had been. One random determinate tomato in a pot there. And then the biggest change, stepping back so you can actually see now, is we planted quite a few different fruit trees and added comfrey out here. So comfrey is a great dynamic accumulator, often used as a orchard companion plant in like permaculture type gardening. It has long tap roots that drop nutrients and holds a lot of nutrients in its leaves. And there was nothing in between these trees before. And the flowers attract pollinators as well. So this way we can chop down the green material and cut it and use it as green mulch around the base of the trees, and that'll decompose and feed the trees naturally. And note though that regular comfrey is considered invasive in some environments because the readily reseeds. So this is Russian Bocking 14 comfrey that has sterile seeds. You can only start it from rhizomes. So that's what we got there. So this little white peach tree had quite a bit. You can see it on their peach leaf curl. The peach leaf curl is on this guy. So I've been picking and removing the leaves, and then we're gonna have to treat it with like an organic fungicide, probably do like a sulfur spray or something, because it's been getting pretty bad. So it's looking a little sad because I had really been picking off a lot of its foliage and thinned off a lot of its fruit, but hopefully we can save it because it is a really nice tasty white peach tree that was here when we moved in. So it's a little bit more mature than some of the other trees. But we planted a Mariposa plum this season. It's looking nice. Our Santa Rosa plum back there is looking so big, and there's actually a few fruit that are ripening on that. This is an Excel fig that's growing in well, and look how big our apple trees are getting. So this is a Fuji and a Pink Lady. We had totally topped her, and she is looking way more bushy and happy now. Trying to watch where I'm stepping to because the snakes are around here. Sometimes the gopher snakes are not harmful, but they'll startle you if you walk right up on them. But yeah, here's our first Santa Rosa plum. A couple of them getting ripe in here. Look at them, yay! Aaron loves plums. This one's actually looking close. Not quite soft, but I'll have to tell him to keep an eye on that. So yeah, some delicious looking plums coming along in this orchard space. All right, I'm starting to get a little warm out here, so I'll try to wrap this up soon, but I've got a couple little spaces left to show you. So here's the existing orchard with quite a few changes, but we decided we wanted even more fruit trees than this, and so we installed a new orchard. I don't know if you can see all the poppies on the hill on the far side over there. We'll go over there and I'll give you a quick peek at that, but I did do just a separate like tour and step-by-step video of that on YouTube too, so that's kind of a separate thing if you want to watch more of how we created that space. But we have some blueberries along the fence line here, and added one raspberry as well, and a little California fuchsia that's there. And then out this way is, again, where we call our calendula farm. We expanded this area this year, so it was just 4 grow bags, and now it is like 9. So we can grow more flowers than ever. So lots and lots of calendula. Some of these are so big and beautiful. There's a real yellow one, and pink ones, and orange. Look at this crazy double or quadruple headed, more than quadruple headed, whatever you want to call it. This one had all these crazy little heads grow out of one flower. This is so we can make our calendula salve for our shop and have a few things of chamomile out here as well. So one day we might redo the space. We had made it pretty, you know, just rough and temporary when we first moved in, just to get calendula growing. We've added on to it. We added a drip irrigation system to it. I did a video on that too, if you need to, a really simple DIY drip irrigation system that connects right to a hose bib. I would love to one day get maybe some taller, extra tall, because bending over to harvest all these flowers kind of becomes a pain in the back, literally, extra tall birdies raised beds out here when we do eventually redo this whole space, which are what we have over here. These are just the shorter version, the regular version of the birdies raised beds. But we made a new little berry patch along this fence line of all caneberries. So we have 3 blackberries in this one, olala berries, which are like kind of a quintessential Central Coast type berry. They're like a cross between a blackberry and something else. I'll see if I can see any. And raspberries in that bed. So we just created this space this spring, super excited, did a similar, super easy DIY drip irrigation system that connects to a hose bib right down the way there to water it all. You can see the vines are laying on this fence right now, so we do need to install. I'm going to make some nice berry trellises and do a little tutorial on that when we do it, which is why I haven't done it yet, but since it's their first year, they don't need it this moment. But yeah, really excited. Look at all these blackberries. Looks like I need to come out here and get some before the birds do. But yeah, 3 blackberries here. Wow, look at them all. It's been warmer the last couple of days, so they're ripening up a lot better. And then I just tucked flowers in here for fun for now, but as these grow in, it's gonna be you know, no space for flowers. And a quick note on the berries. So there are primacane and floricane bearing varieties where they either grow their fruit on like the first year or the second year's cane growth, and they are pruned differently. And so we tried to select varieties, like these are 2 different varieties of raspberries and 2 different varieties of blackberries, but we tried to choose the same type, like either all primacane or all floricane, so that we could prune them all the same and not have to try to keep track of who is who when we were doing pruning. Look at those, look at all the pretty berries. Yum. I'm gonna have to come back here and do some snacking. And while I'm bent down here, I should mention too that these birdies raised bed kits that we used for this spot, I just love so much. So I had my eye on them for years. We had actually contemplated using them for our main, you know, raised bed garden over there, but I just decided I just love the look of wood, especially in the natural space over there. So we went with wet wood beds over there, but I knew I'd wanted some, and they were just so amazing to work with for this project. They were a breeze to put together. They were easy to move around. You know, we were figuring out exactly where we wanted everything to go. I love the look of them, and birdies are like the original, like high quality, really nice, well made, made in Australia raised beds that my friend Kevin at Epic Gardening sells. And my code, I think it's DeannaCat3. It's either DeannaCat or DeannaCat3. I'll look it up and put it on the screen though. Saves 5% if you guys are interested in them. So if you're not up for building your own beds, I can't recommend them highly enough. I absolutely love these birdies beds so much. All right, and we'll head on off this way. So that's where the irrigation system hooks up. Oh, owl box update really quick, backing up. See a little owl box in the tree there. So no owls have moved in yet, but we had oak titmice nest in there, and I was able to peek in there real carefully when mommy and daddy weren't around. And they all fledged. I think there was like 7 babies. So they nested there. We had some dark-eyed juncos nest up in the the eaves of our barn. So we had like baby birds all over the spring. It was just so great. And so we added even more birdhouses all over, and they're in use, and it's just so fun and rewarding to see. So there's the grow room barn. Nothing's really going on in there. I assume Aaron probably has some cannabis plants in there, hence the couple that are sitting there too. But no seedlings right now. But it's crazy though that it's July and it's like almost time. Oh, look at the big old elderberry too. The birds love that. It's almost time to think about fall seeds, which just blows my mind how quickly that comes up on us. I feel like the summer and spring garden is just getting going, and all of a sudden you have to think about starting seeds for fall. But yeah, just throwing that out there in case anyone wants to grow a fall garden. You do have to start them during summer and then plan that all out. So here is our new orchard space. Again, I just did a whole separate video on like how we created this space, but this whole field was just weeds like this, you know, and we cleared it and created natural terraces or berms out here, and just added a bunch of different fruit trees. We have apples and peaches and pears and nectarines, apricots, all kinds of good stuff. And as you can see, the California poppies are kind of stealing the show. A bunch of other drought tolerant and water wise and California native plants mixed in, like rock rose and penstemon and lavender and trailing rosemary. And then the big old bushes are same idea with the comfrey. So we have patches of comfrey up between all of the different fruit trees out here, for that same chop and drop mulch use. Avocado tree hanging in. This got hit pretty hard in the winter with our frosts and stuff. But yeah, avocado, and we planted some pineapple guava and loquats along this fence line to kind of grow in and make more of a green screen that'll block wind and cold air from coming into this space. Let's see if I can walk backwards through here. But yeah, this was a huge project. Like I said, I won't even get into it all on this video because I have a separate deal, but it was the biggest project we've ever done, which is saying a lot because we've done a lot of projects, but it was also one of the most rewarding. And like right now, I just saw a lizard run out, and there's butterflies, and there's bees, and there's bumblebees and native bees, and all the friends are just loving this space. And obviously all the pollinators help to pollinate the fruit trees as well out here. But yeah, we worked really hard on this space for a good solid 3-4 months, and just finished a couple months ago, and then everything just grew in and is taking off so fast. Come all the way down here so you can see the view from back here. And then in this lower area we have some blueberry bushes. Oh, here's a fig tree. And we did kiwis. So that's a kiwi. The male kiwi is on the corner, and then the 2 female kiwis are on that beautiful Moongate arbor. And yeah, kiwis will be a new one for us. They do take a while to fruit, so I'll have to be patient with that. But yeah, I have blueberries and all kinds of flowers and stuff down here. There's some trailing thymes and lavenders and cosmos, and some little native sea daisies and hummingbird sage and grasses and all kinds of things. Bird bath, quail art. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on the homestead right now. Lots of projects always on the horizon. Got quite a few projects done since the last time I checked in with you folks. Wanted to just, you know, show you what's going on before, I'm sure, unfortunately, all these California poppies are going to start to fade on us, you know, just as the weather heats up. So I wanted to be able to cruise around and show you guys everything where we're essentially kind of still in our spring mode here. And then hopefully I will check back in and show you guys around again later in the summer once, you know, all the tomatoes are going off and all that kind of stuff. Oh, look at all the, if you can see from back here, how many peaches are on that tree. So awesome. But yeah, just wanted to give you a look around. Also had scattered a bunch of native wildflower seeds back up in here, which are kind of fading now as well, but that's going to be the goal for next spring. Little seeding area up here is to really sow, or overwinter, sow a bunch of wildflowers out in that field, so that we can get even more stuff competing with the invasive non-native weeds. Yeah, made this little seating area up under this oak tree. A little statue tribute to our cat Dolly. She's our OG. She was like 18, passed away while we were working on this. So she's got a spot up here now. And that's what we've got growing today. So thanks so much for hanging out and wandering around with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to follow along and see more, or check us out on homesteadandchill.com for even more gardening tips and information. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.